Hey, Cub fans. Thanks for joining us here on Cubs 24/7, where Randy talks Cubs. And today we're going to talk Cub pitcher Daniel Palencia. I think Daniel is a very interesting pitcher for a handful of reasons, really. First of all, he's on the 40-man roster, and he pitched for the Cubs in 27 games last year. He's young. He's only 24 years old. He'll be 24 years old in this upcoming season. And he's got some pretty nasty stuff. So I guess I'm confused as to why we don't really hear much about him. Not a lot of talk about Daniel Palencia when we go through all of the Cub pitching prospects, the young guys, because he's technically not a prospect. He's not on the prospect list. I think he gets lost. And he's on the 40-man roster, but I think maybe he gets lost in that group of, we'll call veterans, right? So you got the prospect group, you got the veteran group, and I don't think Daniel Palencia fits into that either one of those groups. So therefore, we just don't hear a lot about him. And it could be a mistake. Daniel Palencia has some pretty good upside. So I think it's time we just kick back and talk a little bit about Daniel Jesus Palencia. 24 years old, born February 5th, 2000, 5'11", right-handed pitcher out of San Carlos, Venezuela. He signed with the Oakland A's on February 13th of 2020 as an international free agent signing for them. And, of course, he didn't play in 2020, COVID season. So in 2021, the A's started him out in A-ball. He pitched for the Stockton Ports, pitched in 6 games, all starts, through 14 and a third innings, put up a 6.91 ERA, gave up 17 hits, 3 home runs. Whip was 1.605, so that's not great, not a great start, but his first 6 games in professional baseball. And that's all he did for the A's, because on July 26, 2021, the Cubs and the A's did the trade. Cubs sent Andrew Chafin to Oakland in return for Greg Deichmann and Daniel Palencia. Greg Deichmann, he's technically a free agent, but he really hasn't played that much since the 2021 trade. So for all intents and purposes, Daniel Palencia now is the pitcher that we got in return for Andrew Chafin in that July 26, 2021 season. Once he was acquired by the Cubs, he was placed in Low-A Myrtle Beach. He pitches 7 games, all starts in 2021. Throws 27 innings, puts up a solid 3.67 ERA, strikes out 38, walks 18. So his strikeout per 9 rate at Myrtle Beach, the first stint with us, was 12.7. He gave up 5.7 hits per 9 during that stint with Myrtle Beach, 7 games, 7 starts, 27 innings. So that's a pretty good start as a Cub for Daniel. In 2022, he starts and pitches the whole season at High A South Bend. Pitches in 21 games, 20 starts, 75 and a third innings, ERA below 4 at 3.94, strikes out 98 for a strikeout per 9 ratio of 11.7, 35 bases on balls, 4.2 bases on balls per 9. So he dropped his bases on balls by over a full walk per 9, and his strikeout numbers are pretty close to what they were. So I guess what my point would be is it's starting to look like he's kind of a strikeout pitcher, and maybe that's the beginning of the thought process to move him to a reliever. So in 2023, he pitches for both the Smokies. He starts with Tennessee in Double-A, and then gets promoted to Iowa. Between the two, he's in 18 games, only 5 starts. So now they transitioned him out and have thought more of him as a reliever. He threw 29 innings total, had a 6.83 ERA with a 1.379 whip, not great, 36 strikeouts, so 11.2 strikeouts per 9. 16 walks for a 5. So that's sort of what we got now. You got a little over 11 strikeouts per 9, walking around 5. So Cubs decide to promote him. He debuted with the Cubs on July 4th, and he actually got the win in an extra inning game. So for us last year, he pitched in 27 games. He finished 7 games, no saves, just finished them. Through 28 and a third innings, had a 4.45 ERA. Had 33 strikeouts. His strikeout per 9 rate as a Cub was 10.5. His walk rate was below 5 at 4.4. His whip was 1.271. So Daniel Palencia last year for us struck out over 10 batters per 9, walked under 5, and had a 1.271 whip. But we don't seem to talk about him much. Okay. He's under the radar. I get it. He's not the veteran, he's not the prospect, but he's just 24 years old. Let's take a look at his splits. I found this interesting, and when we look at some of his pitches, maybe it'll make sense. But last year against right-handers hit 254 against him. Left-handed hitters only hit 140. But left-handed hitters had a higher on-base percentage at 327 compared to the righties at 319. Okay? Well, he walked lefties. He walked 10 lefties in 39 with 39 ABs. Only walked 4 right-handers in 63 ABs. So I'm not sure what that says. Maybe he's pressing. Maybe he does. Whatever the reason is, he just walked lefties last year, but they didn't get hits on him. So the lefties only hit $140, but they got on base more than righties. I just thought that was kind of an interesting stat that I came across. I don't know what it means. I'm just a fan. I just look at it and thought it was interesting. And that's why I love being a fan. I don't have to know. And I don't really care. I leave it to those guys. You guys figure that out. I just saw it and thought it was an interesting piece of information. So I went further, and I wanted to get a feel for Daniel's pitches. Here's what we have. Officially, they list him as having 5 pitches: four-seamer, slider, curve, change, and sinker. But he's really a 2-pitch guy. Four-seamer, he threw 66% of the time, and a slider 29% of the time. So between those 2 pitches, that makes up about 95% of the pitches that he threw. So let's just talk about those 2 pitches. His four-seamer that he throws 2/3 of the time, it's a 98 mile per hour four-seamer. It's actually 98.4 average. And it's got above average vertical and horizontal movement. He's in the 97th percentile in terms of just straight velocity. Hitters hit 207 on that pitch last year. But the dichotomy that I found is he gets better results on his slider. So let's talk about his slider. He threw that 29% of the time. His slider is an 89.4 mile per hour pitch, but it's got below average horizontal and vertical movement. So it's probably a faster pitch than the average slider. Doesn't have quite the movement on it, but he got better results. Here's the results I'm talking about, comparing the four-seamer to his slider. The four-seamer, he got a whiff rate of 20%. So 1 out of 5 times he throws that pitch, hitters swing and miss. He has a 58% whiff rate on his slider. Okay, that's interesting. His put-away pitch was, with the four-seamer, 16%. So he got a put-away on the four-seamer 16% of the time. He got twice as many on his slider, 31% put-away. So I don't know. I guess my brain would go to, he's got a nasty four-seamer. He uses it 2/3 of the time. So let's say his below-average movement slider is more effective because hitters aren't looking for it. That would be my thoughts. So I think that's pretty interesting, that in those 2 pitches, how he uses them. So that's kind of what he's got. The curve that he throws is an 83.5 mile per hour curve. Only threw it 2.6% of the time, but he got good results with it. He's got a 33% whiff rate on his seldom used curve, and he used it to get hitters out at 28.6%. I imagine if you're not looking curve, if you get it, you're probably going to whiff, and he can use it as a put-away pitch. So, and he's got a sinker and the change. He only threw, combined with those, he only threw that 2.5% of the time. So that's kind of what to look for with Daniel. I'm going to be interested to see if he adds more curve, if he adds that change, if he works on that slider and gets a little better movement on it. My point is, Daniel Palencia is 24 years old, and this is where we are with him. He's already got a track record that's really good. Compare him to some of the other 24, 25-year-old prospects, I think he's ahead. So I think we need to pay a little bit more attention. Let's not fall asleep on Daniel Palencia. We'll see. Spring training just around the corner. We're going to find out. We don't have long to wait. So hope you guys enjoyed that. I did. I appreciate you tuning in, watching Randy Talks Cubs on 24/7. And if you do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate that. And we'll see you very soon. Go Cubs, go.